This is my replay of Illumination Laser, 1 credit clear on hard. Sorry about the sound. I don't know what happened, but some of the sound effects sound strange after I saved the replay, so be aware of that. So going into stage 1, normally I would just shoot whatever appears here, but after resetting this hundreds of times, I try things like this to keep the early stages more interesting. This first enemy always appears in the middle and moves the same way, so I have all this planned. If these bullets touch the option around the ship, they get absorbed and added to the meter in the bottom left, which I can use on the next wave. The reason to do this is destroying enemies or their parts with collected bullets will give a ×2 score bonus. These enemies will try to hover around the player and usually wait before shooting. So I lost my shield, which isn't too bad, but kind of disappointing to happen in stage 1. My score just hit 50,000, and you'll see I just got my shield back. I'm focusing on destroying their cores, which is the small red crystal. Now the way this works is if you destroy the core last, you'll get more score from it, but as soon as you destroy an enemy's parts, they try to escape. So I'm trying to cover the area around them so they can't get away. You'll notice enemies in a different color have appeared now. These ones have homing shots. If I absorb them, I can fire those same homing shots back. I usually get my score to around 150,000 by this point. This is where the level really starts. As you just saw, an orb appeared from a destroyed enemy. For every 50,000 while I still have a shield, I get one of those. Early on, I need to get as much of these as possible to earn some lives for safety. This last wave gets a bit risky. I want to stay in the middle and tap dodge left or right to avoid the homing shots. And I get the next 50,000 here to spawn an orb, which is important because getting one of these gives a lot of invincibility frames that I can use to make this pattern much safer. Instead, I had to take a risk to get it. This is where these bird-shaped enemies appear. These are nasty. I already know where they appear, so I'm ready to line up with their middle. If you take out the core, they're no problem, but if you break a wing, they'll rotate and run into you. Okay, so now I'm heading into the first boss. It's a bit tricky, but with a shield, I almost never lose a life here. The boss is going to move and then stop in a certain place. It will always move to the side if I'm near the middle, and this is where I want it to be. It's in the perfect spot for me to avoid its patterns, while this green homing laser is in a safe angle to easily absorb it. I want the green lasers to specifically break the violet crystals near the back as soon as possible. If they are the last parts left, they shoot this extremely fast line of homing bullets. I do not want to allow these to fire. So there's an order I want to break its parts. Violet and blue first, and then the rest. And I managed to do that this time. These are worth a lot of points, so usually a few orbs will drop from this. And the core by itself gives more than 50,000, so it's a guaranteed orb drop. This time I beat it without getting hit, but this one isn't too bad. I've usually collected 8 orbs by now, so I'm a bit behind, but there's a lot of room for error collecting these. I want to go into stage 2 with a full meter of these strong homing lasers. Similar to stage 1, I have a route here where I get some extra score bonuses. And I got an 8th orb. As you just saw, I also got an extra life. And the counter goes back to 0. So every 8 orbs you get an extra life. If you don't miss any, that's every 400,000 points. I shot from too far away and wasn't paying attention to my score, so I missed an orb here unfortunately. Conveniently, as soon as I run out of these green bullets, these green enemies come in and I can use them to refill it. I want to use this to get rid of these star-shaped enemies because after they shoot, they bounce around the screen really fast. I could point blank these, but I used the laser for score. I missed another orb though, that was frustrating. It's harder to get these sometimes because the emulator has a sound delay, so if I don't see it immediately, the audio cue happens too late for me to react. This part can be a problem before memorizing it. These enemy cores are just off screen, so they can't be defeated until they move. And I got hit. And now it's the same, but mirrored. Then they're on both sides. This part is a bit dangerous, but I have a safe route figured out. Now these enemies often push me higher on the screen. Then this next one flies down fast and runs into me. So I have to remember to stay low here. This new enemy type is introduced here. Their movement is completely static, so for now they're not much of a threat. I usually let these ones drop this green container so I can absorb these lasers here. Whenever these red enemies are around, I usually make sure to get their lasers. Red lasers don't track enemies, but it is the strongest type in the game. This type of enemy has a habit of flying off before I can destroy it. Where they stop when the screen is random, and they can go off screen sometimes. I make sure to store some red lasers for these next two enemies. They're really easy here, but these lasers make quick work of them, and give a huge score bonus. I tried to break all of the parts before getting the core, because this makes the core worth about 50% more score, plus times 2 with the laser shot, but I messed that up this time. Now this part is really important, and I have a route memorized that I try to follow. So I destroy these first 3 sets of enemies before they can shoot. Then these red ones I want to keep around. This is where it gets really difficult and it didn't go the way I wanted here. I destroyed the red enemy early. Now these quick enemies with homing laser shots behave a bit unpredictably and I try to react. Since my meter was already filled when I had red lasers, these weak yellow shots override it. If I only got a few, I could still have some red laser left after using them, but I got too many. Now the boss appears, and I have to very slowly chip away at it. This is what I do not want to happen. These yellow lasers aren't that effective against it. I suck at this boss. Even after memorizing every attack pattern, I get a bit jumpy and move into some of its shots. These quick homing ones are really dangerous, and what I have trouble with. When it spins and starts cluttering the screen, I have a habit of getting cornered by the homing shots here. It's somewhat random where the bullets end up. I rarely can get by this boss without taking a hit. About half of my attempts reset here when I lose my first life. This time I was annoyed from resetting so much, and just kept going for whatever reason. I'd already considered the attempt doomed from losing a life this early on, so I didn't expect to get very far this time. This boss is so frustrating. It's an ordeal when first learning the game. I got a game over on this boss multiple times. The long spikes make the circle pattern when it spins, so I want to try and get rid of those as soon as possible. So the way I want this to go is I take red lasers in, and with those I can pierce right through the core and all these parts that make these annoying waves. It usually cuts the time spent on this boss by about half, and it's much safer. I'm not sure if that's the intended strategy, but it takes some planning to pull off. Either way, it's a really clever use of the mechanic, and I think it's neat that you can come up with a different route like this. This last phase isn't too bad as long as I destroy these capsules before they spread bullets everywhere. I made it to stage 3 with 1 death, and there's still a lot more to go. The game hasn't even started getting difficult yet. I got these strong 2-step lasers from the boss, so I can catch up on my score here. It's easy to destroy all of these, but I messed this up too. With these I will lose my shield if I try to get too aggressive and destroy all of them. So it's best to just clear a path. I keep the option in front of my ship here to block everything. These aren't a big deal alone, but in a swarm like this, it's easy to get overwhelmed. There's not that many in this wave, but this is a sign of things to come. The game will have much larger swarms of these later. I have to watch out for these. Their homing shots are really fast, so I have to tap dodge out of the way once they start shooting. This part is tricky as well. I didn't go the right way and got hit, but at least I had a shield. These square-shaped enemies seem like a pushover, but where they move varies. You can see this one got in my safe area, and I had to move up. This is when things can get out of hand. They can get too close, and if I let them go off screen, they can move back in at any moment. So I want to take them out before they move too low. These aren't bad since I can break their main part before they can shoot. If I take out the two lower pieces, they can't usually reach me anymore, and I can point blank the core when they get close. This repeats back and forth a few times, and I can use a special laser to get more orbs here. Up to my 4th life now. I got too aggressive here and took a hit. Thankfully there's some more standard waves here to get my shield back. Now these yellow enemies are very dangerous. If I let the capsules they leave behind fire, the shots are extremely fast, and they can bypass my option. So it's hard not to get hit here. Destroying those capsules is as important as taking these enemies out quickly. These green ones are helpful though, and the shots are easy enough to block. These last waves aren't too bad once memorized. I still got careless and lost my shield. This run still wasn't going anywhere near my usual best. At this part I just take one of the 3 out, then tap dodge up here. Then the yellow and violet versions of these try to fly at you when they leave, so I just move back down again. I'm about to get to the 3rd boss, but I have plenty of time to set up this safe spot. I line up with the word top next to my score here. That's perfect. It's difficult with the ship's high movement speed and sometimes I don't get it. Now I needed to line up vertically with the red part of the boss here. This is also about perfect. It looks like I'll take damage, but the hitbox here is more forgiving than it looks. I have to get really close to the damage area for this to work. As soon as I get the red lasers, I fire them back. And I quickly need to move into a safe position. I got a bit lucky and got my option in front of the red laser again. This is difficult to do without getting in front of the blue pattern. Now I have a small window to damage the core before it shoots again. And now the boss is basically over. You can take your time with this one and pick off every part. I didn't know about this yet, but those parts give a ton of points. Enough to gain another 2 lives just from this boss. So I made things more difficult by not getting those. Stage 4 is where the difficulty goes up significantly. These long enemies are a problem. If I don't get them quick enough, they circle around the bottom of the screen. I got lucky this time, and they didn't go as low. There's more of these from the last stage, but they're a bit faster now. Again, like in stage 2, I want to get rid of some of these before they fly down and run into me. The yellow one almost got me here. Another dumb mistake here. As long as I get 1 from each wave, they're mostly safe. I want to set this up so that I collect the red lasers and then get rid of these waves with them. Then get the green ones and keep them for the next part. I moved too far and got hit again. I'm doing pretty badly here compared to how this usually goes. If I'm lucky, I've only lost 1 life by now. If some waves go badly enough, I can chain die and lose all of my resources. Stage 4 is a frequent reset point for me, and that's coming up soon. Now for the hard part. If I planned this better, I'd get near the next 50,000 and try to hold back before getting hit. Then I could immediately get a shield back. But instead, I really messed up here, and spawned an orb right before I got hit. I would need to survive long enough to reach another 50,000. I usually lose a shield or two, but a life is bad. It seems like it's over, but that's just the halfway point. The attempt seems mostly hopeless now. This part is evil. I kind of know where they'll come in from, but there's not much memorization that can help here, because of how dense this gets. Instead, I have to go by reaction and make quick judgments, based on how the enemy moves. Yeah, it's still going. I focused and moved carefully here, and almost made it, but it was unlikely I would get through that unharmed. You get many iframes when losing and regaining this shield, and that gets me through this wave easier. Now I get a bit of a break from that. This next enemy caught me off guard and I almost got hit again. These enemies are not much of a threat, except for the ones with the yellow capsules. I got bad luck here and the enemies spread out, so I couldn't break all of the capsules they dropped in time. I almost got hit again here. These are very hard to react to if I let them fire, but I managed to not get hit, thankfully. I'm safe for now. These next few waves aren't much of a threat, so I can prepare for the next part. I got lucky here, and I was able to get some of these stronger homing lasers. They don't always fire off in a direction I can get to. This is another hard part. These enemies kind of wall the player in. They get close and their spikes are long enough to get in the way. While I'm not losing lives, I keep getting hit, so I'm not making much progress towards the next extend. And I'm not expecting to get far into the next stage at this point. There's still a lot left of this game. It's not looking good. The stages ramp up in density and speed further into the game, and this is where it starts getting really intense. More repeated waves here. As long as I quick kill them, it's not a problem. Here I have to stay at the far side and move up and down with the right timing. Once I know the pattern here, it's easier than it looks. Now, with this enemy, it has too much health to defeat, but I want to try to get a good laser from it. I got really lucky here, as it stopped in the perfect spot where I could line up with it. I usually get myself killed trying to do this. This thing is frustrating. When it decides to stop is random. I still get hit in a dumb way. Here is the next reset point. I have lost a lot of attempts to this thing. If I miss and destroy both spikes, it activates a trap and spawns these walls really fast, and it won't stop doing that until it's dead. So if I activate this trap, the game is probably over. But the other spike is in a bad spot here. I got more really bad luck here. I want it to point left and stay on that side. This boss is a bit of a nightmare if it doesn't cooperate. But game over is definitely possible if things go wrong. It fires at the worst possible time. I got frustrated and just destroyed it out of spite. It's getting really intense at this point. I'm about to get trapped by the walls. But I focused as much as possible and did this incredible maneuver here. Against ridiculous odds, I managed to save this. I just had to sit here and patiently wait for bullets to line up with the option. I thought I could just tap to line it up better. But after all that, what ended up getting me was my own impatience. Miserable. I was ready to abandon this attempt at this point. Back down to 4 lives again. I usually have 6 by now, but at least I didn't get a game over on this thing. By this point I'm frustrated, and I know I have almost no chance to beat the game. I'd reset at this point, but I kept playing out of spite. It stings to lose a life to that boss. But at the same time, if I keep too many, the rank gets ridiculous anyway. So in retrospect, it did make the rest of the game a bit easier. Stage 4 was difficult, but now is when this starts to get really crazy. But this is also the fun part. While the Stage 4 boss ends a lot of my attempts, Stage 5 is where very few of the rest survive. Because I keep dying, the bullets are not as fast as they normally would be by now, so I still have a chance to recover. I'm thinking if I can still somehow store up to 6 lives and keep them until the next stage, I'll have a slim chance. These first few waves aren't bad. There's a specific way I can move here to dodge this, but I usually get hit here. I get in the corner, then tap dodge to the left, then diagonal, and that gets through the pattern consistently. This part is sort of like those waves in the previous level. I captured the green laser and I want to keep it for this next enemy. So I have to dodge and not absorb its bullets to use this on it. I have this part memorized, so it's easy. I wait for this red enemy to shoot so I can do the same thing again, but I made another dumb mistake trying to absorb it. I can take a break for a moment here. These next patterns are easy. I usually take a hit here too. Here's a new enemy type. I need to get rid of them as soon as possible, or they drop a special reflective part that blocks my bullets and they shoot a pattern at it that bounces everywhere. It's a mess that I don't really want to deal with. I use the laser to take care of them. I know exactly where they spawn in, and there's 4 of them here. I want to keep enough of this laser for the next wave, because I really hate these next enemies. But with this laser, they're not an issue. This part I watch the first enemy carefully. Sometimes it snipes me from the side and the angle can vary a bit, so it's not as safe to try to block it. Otherwise this part is still easy. I take a hit here, but the enemies right after this will guarantee enough score for a shield. This part takes practice. I can take out the guns on this enemy, or I can aim for the middle, which is what I always do. The spread is slightly randomized, so I have to be careful. This other enemy comes in, and this is the tough part. I have to leave enough room to tap dodge its pattern here. Then I need to get rid of this thing as soon as possible, so it doesn't get in the way of the next part. These crystals can block the enemy, so I try to destroy them quickly. And now it's the same pattern mirrored, but with less space to dodge. If I don't get rid of this large enemy fast, it's really bad for the next part, because it can shoot into the safe spot I need to line up with. I did this wrong, but I had enough shield recovery to make it through that wave, and I was so close to losing a life. You can't fully predict these. So now you see what these enemies do. What makes this awful is that what speed the parts move, and if they home in on the player, is random. With bad luck, they fire in a way that would block me into a corner, or suddenly fire really fast and hit me before I can react. This hand-shaped enemy might as well be another boss. If I'm lucky, I keep some of the red laser for this part, but I didn't get it this time. It's really threatening and can make things more difficult if it happens to move low or stay in the wrong place. I need to keep changing position and timing movement right to stay blocking its attacks. Hitting it while dodging is difficult. I want to get rid of the longer spike first, then the other two. Now that I got that part, it's a lot safer, and I can calm my nerves. This thing can still decide to suddenly fly forward and collide with my ship, so I need to be ready to dodge it. That went pretty well. Now this boss is concerning to me. I always struggle with this one. The stage 4 and 5 boss have a lot of randomness with their patterns, and this one can go really badly. I can go straight for the core, but I've found that I have a better chance if I take out some of these parts. The way this works is the boss forms a pair of these enemies that can move erratically and shoot at set intervals. Their durability changes depending on how many parts of the boss they break. At first, they take a lot to destroy, but once I can break some parts, I can get rid of them fast enough to take shots at the core. I got a really good pattern this time. They didn't get too close. I have to judge where it's safe to go, and expect that they might make a sudden movement that blocks my route. They almost corner me here, but I got by them. That was really close. Now with that part destroyed, these enemies should have less health. I don't want to break too many parts or the boss goes into a different phase, and it's very dangerous. That was a bad pattern. I didn't think it would keep moving down. I could break another part on the right side, but it's too risky. Now I focus on using stored bullets on the core. If I take too long, the boss will go into a phase I'm trying to avoid. I usually get worse patterns from the enemies it makes, and I either run out of time or they chain kill me. And it's over. This was the best I've done on this boss. It only hit me once. Still, I don't have the 6 lives I want. So I'm nervous with how the next stage will go. Alright, here we go. I'd say about 1 out of every 70 attempts make it past this stage. It's the hardest one for me, and where I spent most of my time practicing. This stage is incredibly malicious. Stored bullets are almost useless here. Enemy parts are all reflective. They can only be damaged with the main gun until they change to normal. And to make things worse, enemy parts here have way more health than any other stage in the game. At this point, I have every single enemy spawn location memorized, and the timing to dodge and move when necessary. In my best previous attempt, I made the mistake of getting a 7th life at the previous boss. And right after, these enemy shots were on screen for no more than 2 or 3 frames, and I lost those 7 lives in less than a minute. I'm not surprised that I lost my shield here. This wave is a problem. The 2 types of bullets overlapping here makes this tricky to dodge. If I can aim the red laser well, it will break the cores without having to damage them. And it takes some time to break these parts to stop them from firing. At this point, I'm usually bracing myself as the stage gets going. 7 lives wasn't enough. Usually 6 wasn't either. At 5 remaining, I don't have much hope. I don't know if these large ships are destructible. I just avoid them. I'm waiting for these quick enemies. The second set comes from the right, and I have to lure them over. From here it alternates back and forth. These usually get a hit on me. I start under the one that shoots blue shots and try to point blank it since it's easier to dodge than the other one, and I block the yellow bullets from the enemy on the right. This thing is easier than it looks. I just stay lined up with it and keep the option in front, and none of its waves will hit me. This is the part I really had to practice to get right. I noticed after being chased to the top of the screen in a failed attempt, that the other enemies just left if I was at the top. These ones try to orbit around the player like previously, but that movement path up here sends them out of bounds. They are extremely hard to fight normally. I memorized this strategy to stay in the corner here, and the third enemy fires homing shots that I can't block from here, so I have to move. I stay high enough to lure the last one away, and then I have to move down immediately, since these fast enemies start flying in again. If I shoot these next 2 waves from below, their shots can reflect off of the ship, so I lure them away into the corner. I try to quick kill these, and then tap dodge around. This is mostly consistent, and I got through. Now for the other dangerous part. I wait near the middle for the first wave, and they won't shoot as soon as they go by. I move to the other side, and this positions my option in a way that will block the next set. I should have stayed in the upper corner to lure these, but I was in the wrong place. I almost got by, but this mistake costed my next life. There's one more here, but since it's alone, I can safely fight it normally. This next part is where I usually get hit multiple times in a row. I can at least lure this first set into a safe spot. This part I haven't figured out how to deal with. Everything I've tried still ends with me losing a life. I didn't see what hit me at the time, but an off-screen ship part reflected the bullets back. This level is just like that. There's so much to deal with here. I just hope for the best, and usually it goes badly. But this time I used my iframes from respawn to point blank the worst enemy here. This part is also just evil. I got lucky with the shield again. With the shrapnel, reflected bullets, and enemy parts moving around, visibility is an issue. Bullets often sneak past and hit me in ways I was not prepared for. I think I can rest easy now, because the rest isn't difficult at all. But my nerves almost cost me another life here. I had an awful time fighting this boss until recently, when I finally figured out a strategy to kill it faster. I needed to get a full meter of this green laser, which can be difficult to line up if the boss moves around too much. Normally, I just fire it at the boss, but from below or the side it curves away from the core, so I figured out that this worked. I should have stayed still here, but I managed to dodge this pattern. Now I need to wait for the red laser and use that to almost finish off the boss. That was also the best I've ever done on this boss. Even so, I estimated that I would need more lives for the next stage. At least, I thought I'd get some more practice for stage 7. Compared to the last stage, this one isn't as bad, but there's still a lot of very difficult sections, and it's not that easy. And I already lost another life. Once again, I was sure it would be over at this point. It would take a miracle with 3 lives, but with 2, at my skill level, it should be impossible. Stage 7 might be the longest stage in the game. The enemy waves just never seem to stop. At this point of the game, you have everything thrown at you. The enemy we've seen up to this point is here, and there's a lot more of them than before. These bird-like ones again. But getting through here is kind of sketchy. It's a mess. But I got that life back. And I didn't die back there, somehow. And then I lost it again. Did I mention these enemies are awful? Now you can see what these actually do. This part is also stressful. I was too far to the left and messed up the safe spot again. Down to 1 life. I was thinking, now there's absolutely no way I could ever clear the game. By themselves, either of these enemies aren't bad, but combined there's so many close calls in this part. I usually lose a life around here. When these large enemies start shooting, I never know where a safe spot is. The angle seems random. And my shield saved me again. This is still only halfway through stage 7. Another really tense wave of enemies here. It's a gamble if I survive these. This part is a bit tricky. Now a brief moment to relax, but right after this is the nightmarish part. I've only been further than this maybe twice before. I found this safe spot where I can destroy this one, but a random stray shot ruined it. I moved up too soon here. I should have used the iframes from the orb to move into the middle, and I could have kept the shield. I survived long enough. Now it's easy. This part feels like a celebration. A victory lap, if you will. They throw tons of enemies at me here, but they have no health, and this is my last chance to get some extra lives. This was a relief, but I still had doubt that it would be enough. I was off route here. I've dodged this before. It's consistent with the right movement, but this time I didn't get through. This is near the end now, and I knew I wouldn't be getting any more lives back and no shield. I was still going to try, but at this point it was hopeless again. The stage 7 boss usually takes 4 lives. 3 if I'm really lucky. But there's still a chance. I should have reacted to this one. It wasn't a difficult pattern. The worst thing about this boss is what pattern you get is somewhat random. I can never predict this thing, but I probably need more practice. Some of its patterns almost fire at point blank or move extremely fast. It also has a ridiculous amount of health. So far I'm getting lucky with these patterns. I can't believe I got through that. Another bad pattern. I was definitely expecting to lose this life. A stupid mistake. Now I have nothing left. It was already hopeless. I felt like I was going to lose at any moment. When the next pattern happens, it's over. And it's dead. I couldn't believe it. No lives left. No shield. If I had made even one more mistake at any point, this would have been another failed attempt. But it's not over yet. I've been here once. Previously, I saw what the upcoming boss did for a few patterns. Then I lost a few seconds later. This time I have a plan, but I don't know if I can do it. Before the last boss shows up, there's a few enemies that fire a red laser. And for my plan here, I have to capture it. I was worried I'd get hit trying to block them, but I got it. My heart was racing at this point. I was getting shaky. I had this one chance, for the second time in 70 hours of playing. Bad visibility makes this even more stressful. I could easily run into a small piece of debris at any time. I recovered a shield from defeating the Stage 7 boss. That's the only room for error I had now. So this is the true last boss. I'm getting ready here to face off against the final challenge. I'm targeting this specific part. I need to destroy it before the boss starts moving, and then I can hide in the upper corner. That's the easy part. Whenever I see an opening, I can point blank the rest of the left wing. But these stray shots are concerning. As long as I can keep this up, there's no problem, and I can take my time. So I'm being really careful now. It was going well so far. I'm still a bit shaky and trying to maintain control of my nerves. The shots got faster, and the patterns are more aggressive. This was new to me. I'm basically fighting this thing blind at this point. I'm getting more concerned it might do something I'm not prepared for. I have no idea what's going to happen. Almost there. The core is exposed. I'm starting to worry there might be a time limit, and my thoughts started racing. Should I get in close and try to end this now, or continue to take my time? But how long can I keep this up? I needed to do something soon. I just had to keep it together a bit longer. So now I'm panicking. I didn't know I could shoot these. Time must be running out. And I was getting desperate. I realize I'm probably screwed now. So I lost my shield here. And now I'm even more nervous. I wasn't prepared for this. And my plan is falling apart. But I'm still trying to keep it together. I can't hit the core without hitting the other parts. And I don't know if they will break before I can destroy it. I'm sure this thing has an extra phase. And I don't want to face it. This felt like a miracle, but also made me jump a bit. I thought it was over. It's still not dead. Thankfully, it hasn't changed patterns yet. I was thinking at this rate, a laser would graze me in the corner, and I was running out of time. I just had to go for it. That's it. I beat the game. By some miracle, I pulled through. I didn't think I would reach this point anytime soon. I'm fortunate I didn't reset when this attempt started to go wrong. Well, I hope this was entertaining to watch. I can now say I've beaten Illumination Laser. Thanks to everyone for being patient. This took a lot longer than I thought it would. I had severely underestimated how long these take. I think it's probably going to be a while before I do one of these again, and again I apologize if my voiceover is still a bit rough, but I do have some other stuff planned. It's time to challenge another game. I'll see you then.